गुरुवे गौरचन्द्राय राधिकायै तदालये कृष्णाय कृष्णभक्ताय तद्भक्ताय नमो नमः। यं प्राव्रजन्तमनुपेतमपेतकृत्यं द्वैपायनौ विरहकातरया जुहावस् पुत्रेति तन्मयतया तरवो विनेधुस् तं सर्वभूतमुनै हनतोऽस्मि। वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरुवरं श्रीरूपानुगप्रवरं व्रजरासरसिकं च नारायणं तं प्रपन्नं श्रीगुरुं चरणं वन्दे रामनप्रिस्ताय भूतले रूपानुगभक्तिदं च कृपामूर्ति नारायणम्। नमो विष्णुपदाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामिनिति नामिने। नमो विष्णुपदाय आचार्यसिंहरूपिणे श्रीश्रीमद्भक्तिप्रज्ञान केशवाय नामिने। नमो विष्णुपदाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिसिद्धान्त सरस्वती नामिने। नमो गौरीकिशोराय साक्षाद्वैराग्यमूर्तये विप्रलम्बरसम्भोदे पदम्बुजायते नमः। नमो भक्तिविनोदाय सच्चिदानन्दनामिने गौरशक्तिस्वरूपाय रूपानुगवरायते गौरवीर्भावभूमिस्त्वं निर्दिष्टा सजनप्रिया वैष्णवसार्वभौमश्री जगन्नाथाय ते नमः। हे कृष्णा करुणा सिन्धो दीनबन्धो जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिका कान्त श्रीराधा कान्त नमोस्तुते। तप्त कांचन गौरंगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये। हा देवी काकुवरगद्गर यद्यवाच याचे निपत्य भुवि दण्डवदुद्भटार्ति अस्या प्रसादमबुधस्य जनस्य कृत्वा गन्धर्विके निजगणे गणनं विदेहि। श्यामसुन्दरशिखण्डशेखर स्मेरः समुरली मनोहर राधिकारसिकमं कृपानिधे स्वप्रियचरणं किङ्करीं कुरु। अहो भाग्यं नन्दा गोपाव्रजौकसं यन्मित्रं परमानन्दं पूर्णं ब्रह्मा सनातनम्। Everyone follow. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Bolo Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jai Srila Guruji Maharaj ki Jai, Srila Swami Prabhupada ki Jai, Samasta Rupanuga Gaudiya Guru Varga ki Jai, Saparshad Gaur Hari ki Jai, Gaur Nityananda Prabhu ki Jai, Shri Shri Radha Manju ki Jai. Nitai Gaur Premanande, Hari 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 Bo. Hare Krishna. Hari Bo. Okay. So, offering my obeisance countless times, first to my most worshipful Paramaraditam Asto Tarasata Shri Shrimad Srila Bhaktivedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj Srila Gurudev, to the entire Rupanuga Gaudiya Guru Varga, to all assembled Vaishnavas, Vaishnavis, guests, please accept my obeisance. My gratitude to Shriman Jagannath Prabhuji for very warmly welcoming us and hosting in this beautiful Bhakti ashram, in this very spiritual atmosphere of Eugene. Yes, this area. In the shelter of the very beautiful divine couple, Shri Shri Radha Govinda Ju, and their expansion, their incarnation in this age, Lord Chaitanya, not only in this age, but their eternal, inseparable manifestation, Lord Chaitanya. So, I will try to serve the teachings of Srila Gurudev in a way that is understandable as well for our guests. And if you have any questions as we go along, please speak up, and in any way, I'll try to respond in a way that is helpful. All right? So, Hare Krishna. So I'm going to speak on a few points inspired from the teachings of Srila Gurudev that he spoke here in Eugene, 1996. So here before me is all the lectures, all the Harikatha of Srila Gurudev, Sri Srimad Bhaktivedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj from 1996, 1997, and 1998. 27 volumes of Harikatha. Right? People say, what has Vrindavan Prabhu been doing? Right? Where has he been? He's been doing all these books. And at present, we are preparing the next 18 volumes. I've been busy trying to catch up with him. Why? I have many different responsibilities, but I'm not so lucky to be ekantik like Vrindavan is, one-pointedly hearing and transcribing the Harikatha of Srila Gurudev. So I'm trying to absorb my mind in that service. Today we're working on volumes from 39 to 50 actually. And Srila Gurudev is speaking with so much nectar every volume, right? Which one is your favorite? The next one. And while we're going over each volume, we're relishing Gurudev's Harikatha and how he's bringing out more and more nectar, more and more nectar. Every page is full of nectar. People say, when will we have time to read? I say, back in the day, people would read the newspaper, right? Sit at the dining table for breakfast and flip through the pages. 4 or 5 pages a day is easy. But something Gurudev said today stuck out to me. He said, we will have to hear. And so for us, we are publishing all these books like a manifestation of the mission of Srila Gurudev through his words. And so those coming in his line through the generations will have a very clear guiding roadmap how to practice Braja Bhakti. What is the mission of Lord Chaitanya? What is the innermost moods of our Guru Varga? What is the message of Srila Rupa Goswami? Right? This is our Bani Mandir, the temple of Gurudev's divine teachings. So that anyone in Gurudev's mission has no question about what is the teaching of Srila Gurudev. And those who are his students can imbibe this teaching through hearing in his disciplic succession. And in this way we can serve and preserve that message of Srila Gurudev that is so vital to the world. Gurudev was given the peace ambassadorship in one place he went. And he was given so many awards. But why? Gurudev did not open many hospitals in the West. Gurudev did not open orphanages. He did not perform so many externally humanitarian, charitable activities, right? But he did not have time for that. He said, I am doing the most charitable act. What is that? It is described in our scriptures that to save one soul from suffering in the bondage of the cycle of birth and death is a more charitable act than opening up a million hospitals. Because you go to a hospital to cure your material ailment, and when you solve one thing, then another thing comes up. It's like whack-a-mole. I know. Living in India for 16 years, you get one thing and then another thing and another thing, and you take care of these things, but our Gurudev established a spiritual hospital, right? Every great teacher comes and he establishes a line, right? Reestablishes. What is the line of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu? And our Srila Gurudev established that in such a powerful way in the Western world and also in India that it will never be lost. Gurudev said in New Braj, these topics I have spoken on here in New Braj and these classes shall be remembered for thousands of years. He said like that. Anyone remember that? Pushpadanta Prabhu. Right? I remember those. Gurudev said this is so important. Why? Srimad Bhagavatam. How long has the Srimad Bhagavatam been remembered? When was it spoken? 5,000 years ago? But Gurudev brought that same essence of the Bhagavatam to the Western world. And so our service here is to erect the temple of Gurudev's divine teachings as it is, unabridged. People like to build big temples, right? You don't want to make a small temple, a big temple. So our temple of Gurudev's books is going to be hundreds of volumes. Why? Every recorded lecture. So it's a big temple. Also from India, when he returned from 1996, we've done the first 6 volumes from Hindi to English. And it's full of so much sweetness that has never been published. And a vast majority of these lectures were also never published. I remember Gurudev said that the words we speak can evaporate into the air, but if we print it and preserve it, then that keeps this teaching intact. Especially what we are doing is trying to keep it very close to Gurudev's mood, his style, right? As it is. Nothing missing, nothing added. As it is. Yes? So this is our service. I want to speak a little bit about Srila Swami Prabhupada. Everywhere Srila Gurudev preached in the West, he glorified Srila Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. So similarly in Eugene, the second day he came, he was speaking elaborately on, maybe it was the first day actually, because there's many lectures each day. So I was reading it earlier today a little bit. He spoke with, at that time, Tripurari Maharaj was there and Nrsimha Maharaj was there. And he was having discussions with them. But he especially glorified Srila Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. And this is important because any pure Guru and Vaishnav will always glorify the acharyas, especially those preceptors who are especially significant in the service to the Guru Varga, like Srila Swami Prabhupada. Have you heard of Srila Swami Prabhupada? A little bit? So, it's hard for us to actually understand the glory of Srila Swami Prabhupada, just to understand his glory for what he has done in this world. What to speak of Gurudeva as he would describe his glory in the spiritual world. We're blown away by the magnitude of his glory. We were at a program yesterday, a Bhagavad Gita program with followers of Srila Prabhupada. We were talking about how amazing it was, how he came with $20 in his pocket and within 10, 11 years created a worldwide mission with hundreds of temples, and how that's continuing to grow throughout the world. And our Gurudev would say, yet this is just a tiny amount of his glories. In the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, everything you see in this world is just a spark of my splendor. A spark. We're very absorbed in this world that we are in, and we feel it is so amazing and important. Especially you go to big cities. People feel like it's such an important place. I know, we were just in Vancouver and these big cities and stadiums, and they were doing a marathon. And there were tens of thousands of people doing this running and then jogging. They came to a big stadium and it was like, wow, this is so important. And we were up in an apartment on the 30th or high floor and looking down at everyone just like ants. It seems so small. That's from our point of view, from only a few hundred feet away. What to speak of from Swarga Loka, Brahma Loka, right? These higher planetary systems. What is this? It's no matter. So Swami Prabhupada, Gurudeva would say again and again, we should understand his position as an associate of Radha Krishna. Any pure guru in our line who is a Nitya Siddha, eternal associate of Radha Krishna, they are coming to us and helping us. And to understand their glories there, we have to ultimately go there. So it's an invitation to us. It's an invitation to us. Right? Further, like we see for Christianity, we think Christ came here, God's only Son, he saved us, he died for our sins, right? But that few years of his time here, what about his life in the spiritual realm? We should get to know him there. We should want to meet him there. What are his glories there? So in the same way, Srila Swami Prabhupada, he gave indications. What is his relation there? Right? Every day we sing this song, Gurvastakam. Nikunja yuno ratikeli siddhai ayali bir yuktir apekshaniyai. Right? Ratikeli siddhai. What does it mean to help perfect the meeting of the conjugal pastimes of Sri Radha Krishna? Rati Keli Siddhai. Just on this 2 words, 3 words, Rati Keli Siddhai, you could have month-long program. Yes, month-long program. What does it mean? Rati Keli Siddhai. Rati means this powerful love, powerful attraction. Keli means the manifestation of the play or the love play when there is this deep attraction. And so it is taught in our scriptures that Sri Radha and Krishna, they are eternally performing loving pastimes, right? Amorous play in the groves of Vrindavan. And our Srila Swami Prabhupada, he is assisting them in arranging these pastimes. So what are his glories there? And what are these pastimes that he is assisting in? We have some little idea, Astakaliya Lila, some small idea. It means Radha Krishna performing 8-fold daily pastimes. 8-fold means according to the periods of the day. But that's just like a glimpse, like an image that we can meditate upon as we advance in devotional activities and meditation and service. But that cannot cover the magnitude and the breadth of their activities. Srimati Radhika cooks for Krishna, and every day she cooks something new. Said she does not cook the same thing twice. So Rati Keli Siddhai, every meeting of Radha Krishna is fresh and unique, and Srila Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada is assisting there with our Srila Gurudev, Srila Bhaktivedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj. They are very intimate friends. Gurudev, we published a book because in those early years there was constantly controversy and criticism about Srila Gurudev towards him from Srila Prabhupada's ISKCON society. They were always attacking Gurudev. And we've been discussing, why were they criticizing so much? Is it necessary? And all this aparad. And it was always back and forth. I know, I was there. In our house in New Braj, it would be like the war room. I remember we had the workshop, and Srimati Shamarani Mataji and Subhasaka Prabhu and Madhurika Didi and so many other devotees, they would be out there and, back and forth. Back then it was, we didn't have Facebook or Twitter or anything, but that doesn't mean there was less controversy. Right? I know, because if you look at Gurudev's history in the 60s, there was so much controversy between the journals. There was one book called the Sudarshan Journal in Vrindavan, and they were attacking Param Gurudev and Bhagavat Patrika in Mathura. And one mutt in Navadvip was attacking Gurudev, and this is always an eternal part of the pastimes. Sometimes there would be 6 or 7. They would have to wait for 1 month for the retort to come out in the periodical. And they would threaten each other with lawsuits. One time, the Sudarshan Journal of Vrindavan threatened Gurudev. He said, if you don't take back what you said and apologize, then we're going to sue you for 10,000 rupees. It's in early 1960s, I believe. Right? They were going to sue them. Why? Because they had criticized Mahaprabhu, Lord Chaitanya. And so Param Gurudev responded. He said, your guru in your line didn't even exist in Nimbarka. So they attacked him, and Param Gurudev said right back that if you are willing to see us in court, we'll be very happy to see you there. So it's very interesting these pastimes are occurring. In Vrindavan, there's always some kind of drama. Right? Srimati Radhika's mother-in-law is named Jatila, and she was always causing mischief and drama in the pastimes of Radha Krishna. So why were they fighting and arguing with Gurudev? There are so many reasons. The primary reason is, in this world, people don't understand, right? What is pure devotee? Who is a real liberated soul, saintly person? And so they're always fighting. And also they become envious of someone who is receiving a lot of love and devotion from followers. And they become very attached, especially in position, right? You get some position and, sometimes like you're a kid, you're telling a kid to go to school and it's holding on to its position. So especially conditioned souls, right? They don't have realization. They can speak, they can learn something, but they don't have realization of the truth. But they're attached to position. Attached to position and recent tradition, not realization. And so Gurudev would speak and they'd say, where is that in Prabhupada's writings? Have you read Prabhupada's writings? Gurudev would say, have you read it? Gurudev in the first years, he would go through Nectar of Instruction of Prabhupada and say, see what I'm saying? It's right there. We go through Chaitanya Charitamrita, it's right there. So this is ultimately part of the playful pastimes of Radha Krishna. Mahaprabhu likes to see this. But we should never think that Gurudev and Prabhupada are a different line or different mood. Gurudev came to teach us the mood of Srila Swami Prabhupada. Swami Prabhupada, and if you look in the history, Prabhupada said, especially from the very beginning, he would write letters back and forth to Gurudev. Hundreds of letters, many of which were conveniently lost. But he would write, and they had you could see the intimacy of the relationship. When Prabhupada first came back to India, Gurudev welcomed him in the airport. It was Prabhupada and Kirtananda. But that was also taken out. Why? Right? History is written by the winners. But we should not think this is competition.
You just said there about, you said Gurudeva was Prabhupada. What were you saying about that?
Gurudeva welcomed him in Delhi when he returned from America for the first time. Gurudeva greeted him, and Gurudeva accepted his Western devotees and took their prasad, that what they cooked. And this was a big controversy. The point I'm making is that the glories of Srila Prabhupada and Srila Gurudeva are not limited just to this world. Together they are serving the divine couple, Rati Keli Siddhai, together. People say, oh, this is very high, but this should be understood. So the first lecture, Gurudeva spoke here in Eugene, he was talking about Siddha Pranali. Actually, he was talking about, the title was given like that, but people were asking him about these high topics. And Gurudeva said, be very careful not to become a sahajya. Don't think this is cheap. You have to follow very carefully and very seriously. Otherwise, you will just become fallen. Where? No guarantee. Very low. And he said, Gurudeva mentioned, those who are like this sahajya, they are enjoying in the hellish planets. Right? Means we try to imitate the Lord's pastimes and try to speculate. He said mental speculation will not get you anywhere. So Gurudeva said we must follow this process. Sankhya purvaka nama gana natibi kala vasani krito. We follow the process of the Goswamis. Right? If we want to be with Radha Krishna, if we want to serve there, we must follow the process. Follow the process. Yes? Sankhya purvaka nama gana natibi kala vasani krito nidrahara vihara kadi vijito chatyanta dhino chayo. Sankhya purvaka nama gana natibi. According to our capacity, we should, in a regulated manner, chant. Gurudeva emphasized 3 points. Gurudeva's mission. Hearing, chanting, remembering. These 3 are Swarup Siddha Bhakti. Gurudeva said, even if we are not purely chanting, but we should try and chant. He said, all the other activities we do, he said, Goshala, schools, charity centers, these can support the real process of bhakti, but we should focus ourselves on this core 3 limbs. That's why what you're doing here is so nice, because this ashram is for hearing, chanting, remembering. Very beautiful space for that. So Gurudeva said we should develop greed. Greed. He said, developing greed, that is not sahajya. People think, I should not have any greed. But he said, how can we develop greed? How do we develop greed? Yes, so Gurudeva said, unless we hear about the sweet pastimes of Krishna, how can we develop greed? He said, there's no need of any special qualification to have greed. Like if you...
What type of greed are you talking about?
Yes, so we're talking about... I'm trying to navigate through some different topics here, but there's a spiritual greed, like a desire for a spiritual attainment. And so if we can nurture that, nourish it, then it can help us advance very quickly and steadily towards a spiritual goal. There's 2 kinds of spiritual practice or religious activity. One is the path of negative or negation, where, right, don't do this or this will happen. And we're always... You see this in a lot of religions, right? We're bad, we're sinful, don't do this, don't do that, or you'll go to hell. And this is called adhering to the principles of rules and regulations out of fear. Fear-based religion. And that has its utility, time, place, and circumstance, especially in more primitive times when people were more accustomed to kind of barbaric activities. You have to say, don't kill each other, right? Or this bad thing will happen. Or, nowadays also, right, we say, don't have slaughterhouses. Our Gurudeva would speak a lot about that. Why? This is causing great pain to society, and it's causing so much bad repercussions, karma, in society. So there's fear-based religion, and then there's the path of attraction. So this is called, how can we develop attraction for spiritual attainment? So we understand that we are not, the first platform of spiritual understanding is that we are not this body. Yes? Swami Prabhupada would speak about this again and again. We are not this body. Yes? And yet, it's very hard to sever that attachment. Right? It's very easy to say, I am not this body. But then, if we can realize that, then we can become like Sukadeva Goswami. Right? Just completely detached from the world. Right? Like your Sukadev. No interest at all in anything. But our Gurudev would say, to really develop spiritual attachment, we have to give up attachment to this body, we have to develop spiritual attachment. So that's why we say it's important to develop a spiritual hankering, a desire. And so for us, the process is not negation, the process is a positive attainment. How can we achieve the positive attainment of spiritual perfection? And what is that? So that is the unique contribution of our Gurudev. If you look at Srila Prabhupada, I was thinking about this, what he did in the West is beyond belief, right? Because we're preaching and we're looking and we're thinking, it's so difficult to give this message. When Prabhupada first came to the West, he said, how will I give this message? How will they hear it? But he had so much conviction and so much dedication that very quickly the mission began to develop. And it was based on the power of chanting. So the main process for us is to do this mantra meditation. He said, we are not the body. So what are we? We are soul. What is the nature of the soul? So Gurudeva would say, we should try to understand what is our true nature. Right? We are in this world and we are performing activities by the power of consciousness embodied. The spirit soul in the embodied form. We are performing activities. But what is that presence within us? What is that true innermost spirit? We see so many differences externally, but that soul is our unique property that we're all connected by, right? We all have that consciousness. What is that nature? So our Gurudev would describe what is the nature of that Atma. That Atma is very beautiful. Just like we are looking for, naturally we are hankering after beautiful things in this world, attractive things in this world, wealth, opulence, beauty. We're attracted to it. That's because there's something in us that is, we're trying to find it outside. Oh, this beautiful person, there's opulence, and we're looking here. Will I find it here? Will I find it here? That's called Bahiranga, the external nature. We're trying to find outside what is actually present within. What is that? That beauty of this Atma, the soul. And how is that soul so beautiful? Because the soul and its spiritual nature is to be in relationship with Krishna. And so when we can realize that relationship through the process of bhakti, then we become supremely blissful. Krishna is all beautiful, all powerful, all opulence, all power, all knowledge, all renunciation. So we're looking outside for all these things. So our Gurudev would say, no, the process of bhakti means to meditate and start to come to realize that presence in our Atma, the soul of the soul, that is Krishna. But that Krishna is not alone, right? We think Krishna is alone, but Krishna is always with his pleasure potency, Srimati Radhika. So our Gurudev would say we should try to understand and come to this point of serving Sri Radha and Sri Krishna. So Swami Prabhupada established this transcendental mission in a very short time, right? Very short. But before he left, he asked Gurudev to help, right? especially in the late 70s, 75, 76, 77. Our Swami Prabhupada was living in Vrindavan, and he would call Gurudeva to him. He would send a car to Mathura, 12 kilometers from Vrindavan, and he would bring Gurudeva, and they would speak, and they would do kirtan together. And he would ask Gurudeva to help his mission, his disciples. And so in this way, Gurudeva would again and again go and discuss. And towards the end of Prabhupada's pastimes, Gurudeva especially helped Prabhupada. Not helped, but Prabhupada called him again for having that like-minded association. Right? Many of Prabhupada's disciples were absorbed in the outward mission, which is very important. Right? The outward mission of spreading the glories of the holy name, Lord Chaitanya, that's a very important service. But we also have to cultivate the inner mission. Right? Like we have our occupation, we have our work. But what is our inner work? Right? So you have to be in the same class with someone to understand that inner work. So Prabhupada, he was training everyone, but he said, my time is short. Right? Bhaktisiddhanta Prabhupada had asked him to preach in the West when he was still a young man, but it's very difficult, right? And he had so many responsibilities. But Prabhupada, he said, oh, will you continue and carry on my work? But then in those final days, in those final weeks, Gurudeva was always speaking about Radha Krishna with Prabhupada. And in the final days, actually, Gurudeva would sing with him this very beautiful bhajan, which is the highest aspiration of Gaudiya Vaishnavas in the line of Rupa and Raghunath. Right? Gurudeva would sing this very beautiful bhajan. Shri Rupa Manjari Pada Se Mora Sampada. Shri Rupa Manjari Pada Se Mora Sampada. Shri Rupa Manjari Pada Se Mora Sampada. Se Mora Bhajana Pujan. Se Mora Brata Tapa. Se Mora Mantra Japa. Se Mora Jivanir Jivan. There's 4 very beautiful verses. So Prabhupada established this international society and how Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He established this very powerfully. If you look at, there's different sampradayas, Vaishnav lineages, right, in India. And it took over 1,000 years actually to establish this platform. And then Lord Chaitanya came and taught this Achintya Beda Beda Tattva in India. Right? And he predicted that it would be spread all throughout the world. Prithivityacha Jatanagaradi Gram Sarvatra Prachar Hoibe Moranam. Prabhupada came and he fulfilled that prophecy. But we see how fast he did it actually. It's astonishing. And that's why also it was necessary for Srila Gurudeva to come and assist and further develop this conception. Right? If you think about it, for those, right, we have the Shankaracharya came in India, and before it was Buddhism. And then he established faith in the Vedas in a kind of impersonal, quasi-atheist philosophy. Then Ramanujacharya, Madhvacharya, Nimbaditya, Vishnu Swami established the platform of Vaishnavism. Then Lord Chaitanya came, and 1,000 years passed. But Prabhupada came to the West where there was no platform, nothing. Only gross sense enjoyment.
A little bit from Jesus, just the idea to love God and serve
This is a
God.
good point. No, that was a lot actually.
Yeah, I mean that's the only platform this country had.
That's true. No, that's actually a big platform. That's why actually Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he spoke, and this is a very interesting part of the understanding, is that Bhaktivinoda Thakur said that in the West there was the conception of God as the Father, and there was also the conception of God as the friend. He said especially the conception of God as the beloved had not touched the Western shores. And so Bhaktivinoda Thakur said that the sun rises in the east and comes to the west. So he said when this comes, it will be very powerful. And so Prabhupada brought this message. And if you see, everywhere he established Radha Krishna, everywhere. The highest conception of the divine couple, the absolute truth, and how he taught everyone how we can aspire for that service. How? When he would do Tulsi Parikrama, right? Tulsi Parikrama, he would have everyone pray. Oh, I'm bowing down and praying. When will I achieve entrance into the kunj, the groves, to serve Radha Krishna as their maidservant? Right? He would pray like that. And then they would also pray, Yani Kani Chapapani, right? And if you think about it, how important was that prayer for the West? We worship the Tulasi plant, and we would do circumambulation, and it said in the scripture, if you circumambulate Tulasi plant, all of the sins of killing animals, cows, even Brahmins is washed away. So Prabhupada established that. Why? Prabhupada was preaching in the West, where that was the tradition for thousands of years. How many cows had been slaughtered? How much of that pop had to be washed away? So Prabhupada established that. And he established throughout the whole world, Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And now we see that continuing to manifest. The temples like Mayapur, temples like in Vrindavan, throughout the world, these beautiful places that make everyone understand who is Krishna. But then he asked Gurudev, please, on that platform I have made, you should also establish what is this highest bhakti ras. What is the teaching of Lord Chaitanya with Ramananda Roy, with Srila Rupa Goswami, with Srila Sanatana Goswami, and give that one pointed focus. So Srila Gurudev came, and what he established in all these books, what is the real Rupanuga Dhara, the real message and mission of Srila Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, but the mood of Sri Rupa Goswami. We sing Sri Chaitanya Manobishtam. In the beginning of the Bhagavad Gita, Prabhupada writes this verse. Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Jaina Bhutalemi Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadhati Swapadantikam. What is that Manobishta of Mahaprabhu? What is the heart's desire of Mahaprabhu? So Gurudev helped establish that. Prabhupada established it in his books and his teachings. But we see also how he built this worldwide society. And then the parampara is always continuing. There's one thing it's important to remember. The parampara is always continuing. Parampara means the lineage. We should not think that it is finished, it is over. Gurudev would say a pure devotee is always present, or the world would not continue. Yes?
When Prabhupada was about ready to leave, he told his disciples that I've established a platform, that if you can increase, at least maintain what I've given, and Krishna will send pure devotees to help the devotees go up. But at least what I've given, maintain that. And they didn't. When the pure devotees started coming to increase their devotion, they said, sorry.
So this is very interesting lila, very interesting pastime. But Srila Gurudev's teachings and his service to Srila Prabhupada, that's why when you go through these books, what we're going to do after publishing all of them is that there's specific points Gurudev would emphasize over and over and over again. And his relation with Srila Prabhupada and all the different tattvas of bhakti. And all of these will be published as their own compilation books. How he would speak about Vaishnava Parad, how he would speak about Swarup Siddha Bhakti, how he would speak about pure bhakti, each one. So it's like the praman, evidence established through Gurudev's teachings. So we can talk a few points Srila Gurudev made about how to develop this greed. Gurudev would say, we should, on one hand, be very patient. Gurudev would say we should be very patient. Patience is very important. Okay, Prabhuji, going? Hare Krishna. We should be very patient. And then Gurudev gave some nice stories about this. But he said we should also be very greedy. How do we balance greed and patience? How do we balance greed and patience? And also our material duties in life? How do we develop this? It's very interesting, right? We have all our duties, all our work, and yet we are eager to practice spiritual life and to advance. How do we do it? So Gurudev emphasized again and again and again, he said you should hear Krishna Katha, So that's why the essence of what you are doing here in this ashram, right, is based on hearing about Krishna. This helps you develop the greed. And then you should learn to be patient and follow the process of bhakti. Gurudeva gave one story. He said one time Krishna was with Arjuna and he was in the forest. And Krishna became thirsty. He said, "Oh Arjuna, can you please bring me some water?" And so Arjuna went into the forest and he was looking everywhere for water. And finally he came to a beautiful lake and a beautiful river. And he saw an old lady there with white hair. A very old lady. He said, "Wow, she looks very beautiful, effulgent, but also very old." How old? Like 1,000-year-old. But effulgent, glowing, full of the power of austerities. And Arjuna offered his respects. And, he said, "I'm bringing water for the Lord, Krishna." And he asked her, "Oh, dear lady, or dear mother, please, can you tell me what you are doing here?" And she was sitting and doing meditation, austerities. And she said that, "I am one of the branches of the Vedas personified. And I've been doing austerities here for 1,000 years, praying to achieve the position of the maidservant of Srimati Radhika. Very patiently, I'm doing austerities. Right? Meditating on the glory of Srimati Radhika and praying to her. Nijagane gananam videhi. Please accept me in your association. Please accept me." So then Krishna came and he gave her blessing and she was born in Vrindavan. But Gurudeva said, "Look, for 1,000 years you did austerities praying for this." So he said, "How long? How long can we wait?" He said, "If we have greed, then with greed comes great patience. If you have that spiritual aspiration and it's powerful enough, then you'll have the patience. In this world, it takes a long time to get anything good. You want to be very, very successful, right? Generally, it takes some practice, some study, some patience. So Gurudeva would say you should be patient in bhakti. And he said, ultimately, we're on the path of kripa, mercy. Kripa siddhi. To achieve the position of the maidservant Srimati Radhika without the mercy of her associates is not possible. We may have some potency, Gurudeva would say, some seed is planted, and we may have some potency there in our atma, in our heart. But really, the mercy of Srimati Radhika's associates is necessary. Therefore we pray, Shri Rupa Manjari Pada Se Mora Sampada. Therefore we pray like this, not to Srimati Radhika directly, but to her maidservants. Oh, please. Right? Arupa Manjari Kararchita Pada Padma Gostendra Nandam Nabujarpita Mastakaya Modata Kanaka Gauri Padara Vinde Sambahanani Sanakaistava Kim Karisye. Please, when will you give me a chance to serve Srimati Radhika? Without her mercy, how is it possible? So similarly, all Gaudiya Vaishnavas, we pray with this mood, this internal mood. But we should be patient. Gurudev mentioned the story of Mother Yashoda. Mother Yashoda was trying to bind Krishna. He told this in Eugene, this story. Mother Yashoda was trying to bind her son Krishna, the Supreme Personality. And she called all her friends and they assembled all the rope and thread and from all of Vrindavan. And still she was unable to bind Krishna. So Gurudev said, by our own effort alone, how can we achieve that divine grace, that position? But he said, if the associates of Krishna see our endeavor with sincerity in our prayer, then they can bestow that mercy. So Gurudev said, we must become saral, simple, without any kapat, hypocrisy, and especially, therefore, we have to avoid criticism of Vaishnavas. Right? Because then Bhakti Devi leaves. The path is dependent on mercy, not by our effort. So if you are blaspheming the dear devotees of the Lord, then how can you receive that mercy? How will they give you that mercy? Krishna says, Haristane aparade tare harinam, Tomastane aparade nahi koi dhan. That if you offend Krishna and his name even, then by chanting further, you can be purified. You can be forgiven of this. But then Tomastan of the Vaishnavas, even Krishna will not forgive that. So you must take shelter of the Vaishnavas, the devotees of Krishna. Therefore there's the story of Ambarish Maharaj and Durvasa Muni. When he attacked Ambarish Maharaj, He went to Vishnu for help, and Vishnu said, you must go back to Ambarish Maharaj. The thorn went in the foot. You can't take it out of the head. And what did Vishnu say? Sadhavo hridayam mayam, sadhavo hridayam toham maranyate na jananti naham tebhyo manasapi. The devotee is my heart. How can you attack the heart of Krishna? Bhakti Pramod Puri Goswami Maharaj wrote a whole book called The Heart of Krishna, all about different dear devotees of the Lord and how they were attacked. So this is very important for us to understand as part of the process of bhakti, right? Therefore it's said by Mahaprabhu, Trinadapi sunichena torore vasahishnuna amanida amanidena kirtaniya sarahari. Gurudeva mentions this as one of the qualities of Guru. They should be humble. They should not be so proud. They should have tolerance. They should honor all others without desiring honor for themselves. In this way, they can be spiritual master. So Gurudeva said, if you're humble, then naturally you will not always be criticizing other devotees. Right? We think, I know so much, and anyone who doesn't follow exactly how I think is right, then I'll criticize them. So Gurudeva said we should be very patient, but he said, Madhya Yashoda, by her sincere effort to bind Krishna, Krishna himself, out of his compassion and his mercy, allowed her to bind him. So he said bhakti is a very mysterious thing, right? It's very easy to grasp, but only if it wills it, right? Gurudeva would say like that. Bhakti Devi comes where she is, right? Where there's a good, proper place. Gurudeva would say, if you're sitting with your mother and then you invite a prostitute, your mother will leave. So Bhakti Devi is like that. Gurudeva said she will only be where it's one-pointed mood, right? So it's very interesting. We're here, right, in the West. In one sense, it seems like we're very far from Vrindavan, far from everything, right? And you go and everything seems very strange. But if you practice bhakti, then everything starts becoming favorable, right? If you create an atmosphere favorable for bhakti, then one after another devotees are coming to your place. Why? Because you create an atmosphere that's favorable for bhakti. And so Krishna becomes very close. Gurudeva told the story of Mother Yashoda looking in the mouth of Krishna and seeing the entire universe. Oh Krishna, have you eaten soil? Have you eaten soil? And Krishna said no, and she said, open your mouth. And Krishna opened his mouth and she saw the entire cosmic manifestation. And then the universe, and then the earth, and then her standing there looking in Krishna's mouth. Right? But because of her love for Krishna, she not for a moment thought Krishna is Bhagavan, God. Instead she thought, oh, there's some spirit. And with the Brahmin, she removed that. But the point is that, where is Krishna? The whole universe is in him. So we should never think we're far from Krishna. Krishna opened his mouth and the whole universe was there. And so sometimes it feels like, oh, we're very far away. We're traveling here and there and you're looking and everywhere it's just Maya, 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 Maya. But when you come to spiritual consciousness, then you understand what? Dhaivyesha gunamaya mama maya duradaya mameva ye prapadyante maya metam tarantite. Maya is very powerful. How to cross over Maya? Mama maya duradaya, very big, powerful Maya. But Krishna says, mameva ye prapadyante, if you surrender to Krishna, to me, mameva, maya metam tarantite, very easily you cross over Maya. Why? Where's Maya? Where's Maya? Maya is only attachment to the body, illusory attachment, trying to enjoy separately from Krishna. No, where's Maya? When you become Krishna consciousness, then everything becomes Krishna, Moy, connected to Krishna. Why? Paramatma is everywhere. Brahman is everywhere. God is everywhere. But you're looking at Maya illusion, you want to enjoy this world, so everything becomes Maya. Tulsidas would say, Siya Ram Maya Sab Jagajani, Koro Pranam Koro Judapani. Learn to see Krishna everywhere. How? Everything is pervaded by the energy of Krishna, the power of Krishna. And so everything should be used to serve Krishna. This is called devotional service. And when you engage everything in devotional service, then everything becomes, Gurudeva would say, you can become liberated now. Gurudeva said in Eugene also, he said, don't wait for liberation. Gurudeva said that in Eugene, here in 96. He said, you don't have to wait for liberation. You can achieve liberation just now. Why? By engaging everything in Krishna's service. You are liberated at once. And you become blissful. So, but how to get that? We have to be patient. So Gurudev told the story of the Brahmin. Brahmin was doing austerities. And Narad Muni came and he asked Narad Muni, oh Naradji, where are you going? I'm going to see the Lord Narayan. Oh, can you please ask him when will I be liberated? Yes. So when Narad Muni went to see Lord Vishnu, he said, when will this Brahmin be liberated? Lord Vishnu said, he is doing austerities under this tree that has countless leaves. It will take that many lives as there are leaves on the tree, and then he will come to me. And Narad didn't want to come and tell him, Narad Muni, but in due course he came back to that area, and the Brahmin said, when will I be liberated? And very shyly, with a very kind of sad tone, he said, oh, the Lord said, it will take that many lives as leaves on the tree. And he began to dance in ecstasy. The Lord said, he will accept me, he will save me. And he began to dance with so much enthusiasm. And then immediately Lord Vishnu came and took him to the spiritual world. And Narad Muni said, oh Lord, why did you come so quickly? You said it would take that long. He said at that time he was doing bhajan with no taste, by force, with no faith, with no firm enthusiasm and patience. But when he heard from me, then he developed so much faith, fortitude, and patience. Oh, the Lord said he will definitely accept me. So whose mercy was it? It's Narad Muni's mercy also. Sadhu Sangha. Right? The power of Sadhu Sangha. Lord Vishnu is saying, oh, without Sadhu Sangha, it can take a very long time. But with high-class Sadhu Sangha, it can be very quick. Right? For us, you see, how long will we be in this world? We may do bhajan on our own. We may chant Harinam, follow Bhakti. And how long may it take? It may take very long time. Very long time. But by the association of personalities like Srila Gurudev, Bhakti seems very close. Right? Gurudev would speak so sweetly about Braj, and it would seem so close. Like you're hearing every day Gurudev's Katha. Sitting there with Gurudev, hearing his Katha about Vrindavan, about Radharani, about Madhya Yashoda, about the gopis, about the cowherd boys, about the beautiful pastimes of Vrindavan, it didn't seem far away. And then Gurudev would say, come with me to Vrindavan. And he would invite all the devotees and we'd go to Vrindavan and go on Kartik Parikrama to all the places of all the pastimes of Radha Krishna. Never seemed far away. It was right there. Right? Krishna opened his mouth. The whole universe was there, but just Krishna and Madhya Yashoda was there. That's what's important. It's not important about being everywhere. Right? Being in the whole universe, going here, going there. No. Being right there with Krishna, that's important. So Krishna teaches us in this pastime, right? We see the whole universe in Krishna's mouth. Where do you want to go? Right? If you approach Krishna, you can go anywhere. But Madhya Yashoda said, no, I won't go anywhere. I just want to be with you, Krishna. So she didn't see anything else. She said, oh, this is all just hallucinations, spirits. Krishna is showing everything is in Krishna. Ye yatamang prapadyante tam sathaiva bhajamyaham mama vartmanu vartante manusha partha sarvasa. Everything is there with Krishna. If you approach Krishna, you can get anything you desire. Akamo sarva kamo va moksha kamo dharadi tivrena bhakti yogena yajeta purusha param. Whatever you want, you can get it. But what do we want? So Gurudev would say, if Krishna comes to you, ask, oh, what would you like? I'll give you anything. Would you like to have your own planet like Lord Narayan? No. Would you like all my potency, all my power, be like God? No. Would you like to be like Brahma? No. Would you like to be in Ayodhya? No. Would you like to be in Dwarka? No. Would you like to be in Mathura? No. Would you like to become Dasyaras? No. Sakyaras? No. Vatsalyaras? No. Madhuryaras? Something is good, but more. What? Tat bhavichamayi, right? Shrimati Radhika's maidservant. So Gurudev would say we should pray like this. Ha devi kakubaragad karayadyavacha yache nipatya bhuvidandava dudbatarthi asya prasadam abudasya janasya kritva gandharavike nijaganai gananam videhi. Shama Sundar Shikanda Shekara Smeraha Samurali Manohara Radhika Rasika Mankripa Nidhe Swapriya Charanam Kinkarim Kuru. If Krishna comes to you, knock knock. Who's there? Krishna. Jagannath Prabhu says, oh, Krishna's here. And then Krishna says, oh, I've come to give you a boon. What would you like? I want to give you not just this, I want to make you king of the world. No need. Many lifetimes we've been king, many lifetimes we've been beggar. Okay, Jagannath, would you like to be born in India? No. We are not Indians. Would you like to be a cow, peacock, monkey in Vrindavan? Something very nice, always blissful. Would you like to be serving Mother Yashoda, serving Krishna? Krishna, yes?
There's something more higher.
Really? More than that? Krishna says, more than my mother? How dare you? Oh. You have the audacity to ask for that thing. Shirupa Manjari Pada, her service. This big body, big strong body. You can become very small and soft, gentle. Yes. Yes. See, Gurudeva disciple, Gurudeva follower. Right? What do we say to Krishna? Oh Shama Sundara. Very beautiful Krishna. Shama Sundara Shikanda Shekara. Wearing this beautiful peacock ornament. Smerahasa, smiling so beautifully. Murali Manohara, playing his flute and charming all the living entities. Right? You see Krishna and you become lost in the beauty of Krishna. And Krishna says, oh, Jagannath, I will stay here with you. I will dance with you. I will sing with you. I'll embrace you, play with you. Yes? You want? Yes?
We can do that for now, but taking up there.
Radhika Rasikamam Kripanidhi Svapriya Charanam Kim Karim Guru. Oh, beautiful Krishna, smiling so sweetly, playing your flute, wearing your peacock feather.
No, we just stay here, right. We don't. We just want to serve here.
We can serve you, Krishna, but how can we serve you without learning from your beloved Srimati Radhika? Radhika Rasikamam Kripanidhi, that embodiment of all mercy. Karunam Karumai Karuna Bharite Sanaka Sanatana Bharnita Charite. O Radhe, Krishna, if you come to me and say, what would I like? I only want that service of the lotus feet of your beloved Srimati Radhika. Shri Krishna Sangame Kabunahi Harikami. Oh, Krishna, you are very beautiful and you should go and see Swamini. Why are you here without her? Where is Radharani? If Krishna comes alone, you say, Krishna, aren't you meant to be in the Kunj with Radharani? Is she waiting for you? She's waiting. You must be late. I don't want to get in trouble that you're here talking with me and you're not with Radharani. So Krishna, go. Go. What do we say? Jahi Madhava, Jahi Keshava, Madhava Kaitava Vadam. Krishna, go at once. If Radharani hears that I was speaking with you alone, she might get angry at me. So we never worship Krishna alone. Krishna is with Radharani. And Mahaprabhu with the mood of Radharani. And the Guru Varga, all Srimati Radhika's associates, Manjaris. Krishna is very beautiful, but he is most beautiful with Srimati Radhika. There is no Krishna without Srimati Radhika. Otherwise, he is just Nirvishesh, Nirvikar, Brahma. No attributes, no qualities, no form, no sweetness. Krishna's beauty is because of the beauty of Srimati Radhika. His beauty is, Krishna is in a competition to become more and more beautiful to please his beloved. Right? Gurudeva would say, Krishna is, without Srimati Radhika, there is no Krishna. And without Krishna, there is no Sri Radhe. So therefore, they are eternally together. This is the reality. This is reality, the beautiful, the divine couple. If you say, no, I like Krishna. You try to find Krishna, you'll never catch him. And you say, oh, I like Srimati Radhika. She is not anywhere without Krishna and her Sakhis and Manjaris. So who do we pray to? We pray to the lotus feet. Who are at the lotus feet? Srimati Radhika's Sakhi Manjaris. Therefore, what do we pray? Shri Radha Krishna Padakamale Man. Oh, the lotus feet of Srimati Radhika and Krishna. How do we achieve that position? Lalita Sakira Yayogya Kinkori Vinodadhari Chepai Yugala Sevaya Shira Samandale niyukta koroya maya, lalita sakira yayogya kinkori vinodadhari che pai. Oh Krishna, why are you late? Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha. Radhe Jaya Jaya. Krishna, why are you late? Jai. Right. Krishna's trying to figure out.
Such a confirmation. Something's going on.
Building is talking. Okay, so we'll finish up in 2 minutes here. So Gurudeva would say, if Krishna comes to you, say, no, I'm not interested in this whole world. I'm not interested in even the spiritual world. I'm only interested in the service of Srimati Radhika. Gurudeva said, this is the mood of the followers of Mahaprabhu and Rupa Goswami. One time Gurudev had a young disciple, brahmachari, very strong, and Gurudev said, oh, Sakyaras is very good. One of the Vaishnavas asked him, Sakyaras is very good, you should enter Sakyaras, Krishna's cowherd voice. He said, no. Vatsalyaras, no. Madhuryaras, no. No, no, no. Don't disturb me, don't distract me. Gurudev said one thing only. Tavevasmi, tavevasmi, najivami taya vina, iti vigyaya devi tvam nayamam charantike. Only that thing, that highest thing, that most precious, beautiful thing, service of the lotus feet of Srimati Radhika. Radhika Rasika mam kripanidhi svapriya charanam kinkarim kuru. It's very difficult. Krishna, very beautiful. Ho bhagyam nanda gopa vrajokasam yan mitrang paramanandam purnanga brahma sanatan. The supreme absolute truth has become very beautiful. Sham, rolling in the lanes and the groves and the forests of Vrindavan, the courtyard of Nanda Baba. And yet that beautiful Krishna, if he were to approach you, how can you say no? One time Krishna came to Narottam Das Thakur. Oh Narottam, please give me some water. You know the story? Narottam Das Thakur came and gave. Your building is talking, Prabhu.
Yeah, it's okay. Somali is schooling, but
Okay. So we'll end with one kirtan, but Gurudev said you should develop this greed. And how can you develop this greed? You must hear from those high-class Vaishnavas who have this in their heart. We must hear from those Vaishnavas who have this in their heart. That's why Gurudev said, if you can simply hear Harikatha, then this is your road to perfection. You simply hear, simply hear, simply hear. Right? It's very simple. Gurudev said this process is very simple, very easy. Gurudev said, Advaitavad path, very difficult. Impersonalism, very difficult. But the path of Bhakti, Gurudev said, is very easy, very simple. So you don't need any special qualification. The only qualification is the eagerness to hear about Krishna. And eagerness for high-class association of Vaishnavas simply by hearing. It's not so difficult. Gurudev said this highest thing becomes like in the palm of your hand. Why? Because Guru comes and he wants to give. He wants to give. But Gurudev said, don't imitate, and you must develop adhikar, qualification. What is that? Right? Labha adhikar, trina dika dina hina kinchana charge. We must develop this mood of that we are fallen in this material existence, develop humility, tolerance, and honoring all others without desiring honor. All these qualities help you receive that flow of mercy from Guru and Vaishnavas. So to hear about Krishna, this is our process. By hearing about Krishna from Vaishnavas, we can develop taste in chanting. And then by chanting with this taste, and again, puna, again, punya shravana kirtana, again you should hear. Right? In the end of the Vedanta it says, anavriti shabdat. Again you should hear, End of the Srimad Bhagavatam, nama sankirtanam yasya sarva papa pranasinam. Again you should hear. Right? Shrindvatam svakata Krishna. Again you should hear. So I remember in Karti, Gurudev would speak again and again on these very beautiful pastimes of Krishna. And he would take us everywhere in Vrindavan and show, oh, here's the footprint of Krishna. Here's where Krishna sat and Srimati Radhika was sitting in all these different pastime places. Here Krishna, Kokilavan, climbed up in the tree and was calling, kuhu, kuhu. And Srimati Radhika was in the room and, oh, who's coming? Right? All these pastimes, Gurudev explained. I remember especially in the early years, Gurudev would walk with us on Parikrama. We'd go to Dig, to Koshi, to Varshana, to Nandaground, to Govardhan, to Vrindavan, every pastime place. And Gurudev spoke with so much sweetness and not just speaking, but with that mood and that presence that just by the dust of his lotus feet, that anurag could come in the heart. Anurag means that love. This is the power of a pure devotee. To hear, but you have to take shelter of the eternal associate of Srimati Radhika or the perfected sadhaka, sadhan siddha. Prahlad Maharaj said, by your own endeavor, it's not possible. Naisang matista varurukramangrim sprisatyanartha bigama marata mahiyasang padrajobhishekam nishkinchanana vrinditiyavata. You must take shelter of the dust of the lotus feet of those great devotees who have that wealth in their heart. And by seeing your sincere desire, they can give you that. Therefore, how many times we're so fortunate to see Srila Gurudev, to be with Srila Gurudev. So that dust is, that fragrance, that pollen has come in your heart. Yes? So that desire is there. In your nature, but Gurudev is uncovering that and developing that. So our service here is to help establish this mission of Srila Gurudev through his books, his Vani, his teachings, so that this message is never lost. This message is carried on, this message is spread and distributed, so that others can also come into this line of Srila Gurudev and understand what is the mood, right? So our service is to publish these books, but also to dive into them, right? And how do we dive into the message of Gurudev? By Harinam. Harinam, Harinam, Harinam eva kevalam, kalo nasteva, 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 gatiranyata. Again and again, we hear, we chant, and we remember about these beautiful teachings of Srila Gurudev.